let's talk winter trends. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, it does feel a little bit early to be making this video for some reason this year, even though it is December. Obviously, with the holidays approaching, we're shifting vibes. And I just felt like sharing my take on some of the trends we typically see in the winter, some new trends we're seeing this year, and yeah, just throwing up some fun inspo pics. I love doing these videos. I think you guys like them too. If you're new here, I'm Robin. I make videos every week about clothes, thrifting, styling, inspiration, sewing. So stick around if you're interested. I've been summarizing in my notes app all the things that I'm pinning on Pinterest so that I can share them with you in an organized way. I feel like that's a really underrated hack, by the way. If you're pinning a lot of stuff on Pinterest, I always do it seasonally. I'll make a Pinterest board like for summer, fall, winter, blah, blah. You know, I'll just throw a bunch of pins in there, obviously. But then what I try to do as I'm pinning things, make a collective list summarizing what I'm seeing. And then I can look at that list and kind of remember what I'm talking about. If I don't remember, then I'll go to my Pinterest board and look at it. It's kind of a good way to absorb inspiration without being beholden to the inspiration picture itself, because I don't love copying an outfit, you know what I mean? But I love holding the essence of an outfit. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about some trends. First up is animal print. There's always some sort of trendy animal print for any season. We saw cheetah print get really huge a couple falls ago, and it definitely carried through spring, summer into the next season. This year, I definitely think the fawn print is trending. I saw it pop up a few times last year and I really, really loved it. I always have loved deers and like deer iconography, I guess. I think especially around fall and winter, it's just a cute nod to the season. But yeah, I saw it pop up a little bit last year, but this year I've seen it a ton. There's a few different brands that I've seen bust these fawn print, like denim style pants. But the ones that I like the best are by the brand Wrangler. And I actually did end up buying these. Obviously, this is a trendier print and who knows how long it'll last, but it is a print that I really, really like. I never really bought into anything specific to the cheetah print. I think I thrifted a pair of velvet pants, but I wouldn't have spent money on a new pair of cheetah print. You know what I mean? Because it just wasn't my vibe. But this deer print is my vibe. And I just thought it'd be so cute to have for the holidays and even into spring. It's very Bambi coated, which is obviously springy. I also ended up, I think I talked about this in a video a couple videos ago, but I found this fawn print canvas material at Hobby Lobby. For the record, every sewing project I've done has been with thrifted material or upcycled material. I have not bought a single new piece of fabric since I started sewing, but I found this canvas fabric. Then I found this hobo bag pattern on Etsy and I had to have it. So I did end up making the bag. Let me show you really quick. Look at how cute she is. Super easy to make. This is a very basic pattern. And it's very slouchy and just kind of simple, but this is exactly what I wanted. It's just kind of like a fun little mom bag for me. I also love how thick this strap is. It looks like a sash. Back to business. But this is obviously much more of a lighter taupey colorway than the Wrangler jeans. But I think that's really pretty too. There's something really wintry about it. But again, I could totally see myself bringing this into spring. I think the deer print is so cute, but it does have to be done right. You want to pay attention to color and you want to pay attention to the actual spots on it. So I would just be picky about it, just like with any animal print that you invest into. Just pay attention to the quality of it and the colorway and that sort of thing, because then you won't regret investing in it. I don't think this is going to be a one season thing for me. Even if deer print is out of style next year, it's so part of like what I love and what I've been wanting in my life that I'm not going to just let it go next season. You know what I'm saying? Another thing that trends every year is velvet. So I see a lot of velvet during the holidays, but specifically what I want to talk about with velvet this year are velvet bags. I sort of got onto this with my obsession with the pouch bags that I talked about, I think in my fall trends list. A lot of them were velvet. So I was pinning a bunch of them and then I think my algorithm picked up what I was putting down and then fed me all of these gorgeous velvet bags that weren't necessarily the drawstring pouch bag silhouette, but just all different kinds of styles of them. And I think there's something about a velvet bag, especially for the day-to-day. Like if you made something a little bit more everyday in a velvet texture, just as a way of adding that texture into your outfits for the winter time, for days that you wouldn't normally be wearing a velvet, like if you're just going grocery shopping or you're going to the park or whatever, you're not typically reaching for your velvet skirt or your velvet jacket, but maybe you have on a velvet bag and it's just like adds a really cool texture to your outfit. I think that is so pretty, and I think they'd be easy to make. Back in the fall, I found this dark green velvet fabric at the thrift store, and I was like, I feel like I should get this for something, but then I was like, what am I gonna make out of green velvet? Like, I don't really wanna make a velvet skirt. Anyway, I didn't end up picking it up, and I have so much regret because I didn't even think about making it into an accessory. But it's a really underrated one. Like you don't have to think about velvet as your typical little girl Christmas dress. You can put it in your accessories. And I think that's so, so pretty. Okay, this kind of goes along with velvet because that's the texture that I've seen a lot of these jackets in, but these Victorian style jackets with all the small covered buttons and the stand collar and the puff sleeves or very structured shoulder, I've seen everywhere. I don't know if it's just like the Chloe fall winter inspiration or what, but it's a style I think is so pretty and such a nice evolution of the blazer kind of, especially the winter time. So many of the dress options, even for winter time, are sleeveless. They're just not keeping us cold weather girls in mind and they're making them sleeveless. And then it's like, what do I wear with this? You know, what do I wear into the party? And obviously a fur coat, a really nice pea coat, or an oversized blazer. I feel like those are the typical options, and I think those are really beautiful. But something about a Victorian style, very fitted jacket like this, I think is so pretty over a fitted dress. It's not so formal that you couldn't wear it to like work the next day. You know what I'm saying? I love pieces that are really versatile like that. Also, something about it reminds me of the Nutcracker, sort of soldier-esque, you know what I mean? I just love that. Speaking of the Nutcracker, I feel like every holiday season I'm inspired by the Nutcracker in some way or another. So I'm gonna call this just ballerina, sort of ballet core. And really that encompasses so many things, not just the color, but also texture and silhouettes as well. Ballet core is very layered, but in a very sleek way. Like you're not doing a bunch of oversized layers necessarily. You're layering a bunch of fitted things and more lightweight materials. You're mixing knits and satins and lightweight cottons and linens and creating this very almost sort of subversive look. It has a very relaxed vibe to it, but also a really elegant vibe. I don't know, it's such a hard thing to articulate, I feel like. Some of the other ways that I love being inspired by like Nutcracker or ballet core in the wintertime is just through silhouette. Like if you think about like what the typical ballerina silhouette is, you know, you might think of like a tutu, sleek legs and a tutu, and then a sleek upper body. So like kind of like a Christmas tree shape almost. I think creating that silhouette with your winter layers is such a fun way to bring that into the winter time. Like a very mini skirt swinging out a bomber style jacket with tights or pants, or even just coats that have that silhouette. So it's kind of like a peplum, creating that silhouette by belting a coat or a sweater or whatever. Ooh, another thing sort of ballet core adjacent is what I've talked about in my last couple of videos, which is styling socks with heels. Something I really want to try is the lace up heel with a pair of socks. I think that would look so cute. Definitely gives the vibe of like your ballet slippers laced up into your leg warmers and just sort of that haphazard nature of ballerina styling. I know, okay, I have a couple of friends that are ballerinas and I know that that's not like the actual style, but this is vibes, right? This is like aesthetic core, you know, whatever. I danced ballet and I was in the Nutcracker when I was little, and when the Russian ballerinas would come and dance with us for the Nutcracker, this is like what I remember them wearing in the early 2000s. So things have changed a little bit, but it's still an inspiration, you know? So since I already kind of dived into layering, I think layering and layers is also always trending for winter because it's necessary. Even if it's not a necessity for you and you don't live in a cold weather climate, it's creating the vibes of winter, right? So this is the other side of the layering coin, if you will. Very bohemian, oversized, kind of earthy, kind of whimsical, magical. Layers are a little bit more bulky and hardier. Styling big clamper jewelry like this over bigger sweaters to create more shape, pinning oversized sweaters in interesting ways to, again, create more shape and also add a little bit of texture with whatever pin you're using. Playing around with skirts and doing skirts instead of pants. I actually tend to do this a lot in the winter where I reach for skirts over pants because they're just so much easier to do with boots. And they can actually keep you warmer. If you have a nice wool skirt, it will keep you warmer. You could obviously layer leggings underneath. Oh, obviously a hooded scarf situation or just a scarf that you're wearing as a hood, ditching the bulky hood of a coat. I've seen that a ton. And again, such a bohemian, very old school way of styling that I think is so beautiful and so cute with these trench style coats or pea coats, your fur coats, whatever. I actually recently thrifted an infinity scarf I plan on wearing as a hood. So if you can't find a hooded scarf or you just want to try it out, go pick up an infinity scarf. I guarantee you can find it at the thrift store. The point too with layering, trying to pick things with a bunch of different textures, velvet, lace, cotton, knitwear, like every layer having its own texture, I think is what makes outfits look really, really visually interesting. You could have an outfit that's all one color, that's all black, but if every piece is a different texture, you have leather boots, you have denim pants, you have a satin top, you have a wool coat, and then a knit scarf. Like those are all different textures that make it so much more visually appealing. I'm going to talk coats and jackets really quickly. Obviously, coats and jackets are not trending. They're just an essential item for the winter.
Yeah, about that. Did you know that a lot of people need coats? I'm sure you did. I don't have a statistic to throw at you because I'm sure the good people watching this video don't really need a statistic in order to be persuaded that there are children, elderly people out there who need help, especially this time of year. I was at Value Village the other day, as I often am. I was in the bed sheet section, also happened to be looking at blankets and just bedding in general, and I noticed that all of the blankets, no matter what real condition they were in or quality they were, started at a minimum of $13. $13 for a used fleece blanket that had cat fur all over it, smelled a little bit like cigarettes, for the same price that you could buy a fleece blanket new at Walmart probably. So it was just a good reminder that donating to big chain thrift stores, especially when it comes to essential items like blankets, bedding, coats, warm weather gear, is not the most effective way to help. One foundation I'm fond of is called One Warm Coat. I'll put the website in the description below, but you could just Google One Warm Coat. They provide services nationwide, I believe, and the website is really easy to use. You just punch in your zip code to see the nearest donation location to you. For me, locally, there's a whole chain of pizza places that are participating, so that's probably where I'll take mine, but other thrift shops, secondhand places participate as well. They also have a textile recycling resource for any coats or textiles that are just too worn to pass down to a new owner, which I think is really cool because what do you do with all those really ratty old coats that your kids run through, you know? This is not sponsored, by the way. It just genuinely felt gross to sit here and talk about coats, and specifically thrifting coats, which I'm gonna go into here in a second, when there are so many without. Anyways, thanks for listening. Back to it.
Fur jackets, penny lane style jackets, leather jackets, those are all pretty timeless. There's some version or cut of those style jackets that's trending. But what I think is really interesting, and maybe it's just my own Pinterest, but when I was scrolling Pinterest and looking to see what was out there, what people were wearing, and I could not get a grasp on one style. I did see a lot of penny lanes, a lot of fur jackets, a lot of bomber style jackets. So I feel like those would be the top three that I was seeing. But honestly, what I loved about everything I was seeing is that they were all so different. I don't feel like there's one trending style right now. It's like a found aesthetic, you know what I mean? Found at a thrift store. To me, I feel like that's what is trending, and I love that because that's kind of how I operate, obviously. So obviously I'm gonna like that. It almost looks like every girl walked into a thrift store and the thrift store handed her a random vintage jacket and she put it on and it fits her vibe perfectly. That's the vibe here. It could be literally any jacket. They just found it in their mom's closet. They found it in their grandma's closet. They found it at the thrift store. You get what I'm saying. Go thrifting and let whatever coat is meant for you come to you. It might not be the color that you're thinking of, but like if you find something beautiful at the thrift store, even if it's a fur jacket and you think, I'm never gonna wear a fur jacket, pick it up, try it on. It might look incredible on you and it might end up being your everyday winter jacket. Another iteration of a fur I've seen that I really like is the faux fur skinny scarf. Totally harks back to Chloe and the raccoon tails and whatever. It isn't even necessarily a mink, it's just a faux fur and a skinnier style, but I've seen them thicker too, and I think that's really pretty. But just like a thinner layer to add on top of everything else. It would be warm, it would be soft. I think my kids would love that. Where am I going with that? I don't know. I don't know how easily thriftable that is. I feel like that's kind of a modern take on a mink scarf. Obviously a mink scarf is going to be more luxe, but these just have a more raccoon tail everyday kind of Lost Boys vibe to it that I think is so fun. Oh, I actually talked about ostrich feathers in my summer trending list. I think the ostrich feathers have definitely made a return, especially with like Sabrina Carpenter and her aesthetic. It's so ostrich feather coated, but it's kind of very similar to the faux fur skinny scarf I was talking about, but just a different texture. And yeah, if we're talking animal fur, I feel like ostrich feather is at the top of the chart there. And I love putting it in an everyday style like that. I would really love that ostrich feather brooch or something that I could tack on to a jacket or a blouse or whatever. I think the ostrich feather like boa situation would get a little itchy for me. Like if I'm thinking practically here, I don't think I would love that. So lastly, I want to talk a couple color palettes. Being inspired by new color palettes is one of the easiest ways to come up with new outfit inspo. Just refresh your brain on what you might already have or what you might want to look for to complement things you already have. First color palette is going to be no surprise. It's a ballet pink, a mauve pink, a baby pink, some sort of pink that has like a grayish muted tone to it, like the top I'm wearing, with a slate blue gray. This could be a light slate blue gray if you wanted to go for more like pastels on pastels, or a darker slate blue, which I think is really beautiful too. I think it's just such a beautiful, kind of unexpected, but very elegant looking pairing. There's something in the tones of them that's very similar. I think it's that sort of like grayish undertone. And this is going to vary for different people, have different undertones of these colors that would work. Maybe a peachier pink with a more dark greenish blue or dark green. And again, it just kind of harks back at that ballerina, nutcracker vibe. And again, those colors and that color palette carries really well into the spring. I love that versatility. You know what it is. The other color palette I'm calling Sugar Plum. So I guess I should just title this whole video the Nutcracker theme. Basically, it's this deep dark purple aubergine plum color. It's definitely one of the colors of the season right now. It's another color that has good range to it. You can get a cooler tone if you're more into cooler tones, or warmer tone if you're on the warmer side. And you can really find a color that suits you. I think it's so delicious. This aubergine plum color with a sage or sort of a pear green. It's kind of a different take on like a red and green for the holidays. It's a little bit more, wearable in that way and less kind of costumey and on the nose. I love trying to pick out color combinations that don't feel like you're wearing color, but they are color. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes it can feel so intimidating to wear a colorful outfit, or it could just feel not intimidating, but just overwhelming to have to pick an outfit that's full of color, because it can be kind of like, okay, well, that doesn't quite match with that. Just for me, I get a little bit overwhelmed that way. And that's usually when I end up just going with an all black outfit or something very basic, which there's nothing wrong with that too. But I love these color combinations that just feel so wearable, but at the same time, they're so rich in color and so interesting and visually appealing. Okay, that's everything I got. There's 1,000,001 more winter trends out there, and I'm sure there will be 100 more to add to this list as the season goes through. But this is just to get a little kickstart, to get thinking about some fun holiday outfits and some fun inspo for the season ahead. Again, please drop any winter trends that you're loving in the comments below. You can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. The handle is right here. Subscribe if you want to. I post videos every week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.